So, as I said, my family are very devout, and it's one of the things that Hiba also touched on. It's a sense of community. Like, the whole family has to look the same. The whole family has to look pretty much similar, like copy paste from each other. If anybody is different, then they're either oppressed or, like what they did with me, disowned, publicly disowned. So when I left in the middle of the night, and then my parents hacked into my email, found out that I was an atheist, downloaded a lot of pictures from my Google account, and saved them as evidence of my straying or dissent or whatever you want to call it. Then they trusted the wrong types of people who told other people, and then everybody found out that I was an atheist. I got a lot of threats. They publicly disowned me. My mother still does not talk to me. If anything, my mother has said the worst things anyone has ever said to me from the people that I have tried to contact me. My father is more just wants to make sure that I'm alive, that I don't need anything kind of guy. I have 3 siblings. My brothers still talk to me. They don't really care much about religion, but they're not atheists. Other than that, because my family really cares about their public image, they try their best to make sure that no one tries to contact me. And this has happened when a cousin of mine that I am friends with contacted me, and we became friends. But a picture of us started circling around in the community. And he got into a lot of trouble, and we had to come up with this elaborate lie in which I apologized profusely to him for trying to lead him astray, and him like mouthing off at me or something like that, so he can show his parents that, look, I have nothing to do with her anymore. And recently, a younger cousin of mine, 17 years old, is pretty much risking his freedom trying to contact me because he's going through now what I went through when I was his age. So to give a short answer, I don't have a relationship with my family other than my 2 youngest brothers and a few cousins that try their best to hide it from the family.
It's kind of mixed for me. It's been 5 years since I left. I left in a way such that the only way I could leave was that if I knew that I would be okay if I was cut off from everything. So I came to the U.S. Graduate program, and I had a teaching position, et cetera. I was financially independent, and I didn't tell my parents that I was an apostate and I was coming to the U.S. because I could live there in a way that I couldn't back home, and so it kind of came as a huge shock to them. And at first I tried to hide it. I was like, you know what, I'm here. They're all the way across the world in Lebanon. I can just do what I want here, and I don't need to kind of like fuss about it, and it's just easier it wasn't easier because they were still, my father also hacked into my email, telecom engineer. And it was just the kind of thing where like my mother made sure I had a landline at home, would call me every night to make sure I wasn't off gallivanting anywhere. It was the type of thing where they were like, it was just obsessive, the policing and the control, even though they had much smaller ability to do it from across the country, across the world. It was still so suffocating. Like every single time I wanted to go to a restaurant that wasn't halal, or heaven forbid a bar or whatever, I would withdraw cash because my father kind of like looked at all my bank statements and saw he had access to my account. Just things like that. And after a few months, and I also have family in the Arab American immigrant community up in Dearborn, Michigan, as my grandparents were Civil War refugees. And the idea was that I would be expected to go there and spend the whole time with my family during breaks. And so Christmas break was coming around from my first year in the US, and I was just like, I cannot do it. I cannot put my hijab back on and go up and pretend to be a good Muslim girl every moment of every day I can't do it. So I came out to my mom. And I told her, and she was heartbroken, blah, blah, blah. My father disowned me completely, it's mutual. His entire side of the family, none of them speak to me, which is good, horrible people. My mom, over the years, we've slowly begun to be able to have a relationship again, but mostly hinges on us never talking about the things that we disagree about. And just kind of like, you don't ask, don't tell, just, And that's kind of it. I'm not really part of the family anymore. It's phone calls here and there. Sometimes I go up and visit my family when my mom visits her folks up in Michigan. For a couple of days at the time, during the entire time, I'm just trying to keep the peace. And so I just don't say anything. I don't talk about my beliefs. I dress as conservatively as possible without putting a scarf on my head because I'm not willing to make that concession. And that's it. And I wish it didn't have to be the case. I wish I could go to weddings and be part of everything. But I can't. And that's just how it is. And